Everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. We're back in the 3.5 Monster Manual, and we're on the Rakshasa. And the Rakshasa is essentially a humanoid with a cat head, but unlike the regular cat folk, their hands are actually reversed. So their palm is on the outside of their hands. It doesn't affect how they use them in any way. It's just their hands bend backwards, and it can be unsettling to those who witness it. They are pretty much the embodiment of evil, it says. They're very malevolent. They can take their form and change it to other things. They have detect thoughts, some spells, and that paired with shape-shifting can make them very dangerous. And let's see if we can't make one for pretty cheap here. So I have a Lord of the Rings orc bowman who the head is broken off of. So since it's already broken, we might as well use that. And what we'll do is we'll get the snippers out. Where are my snippers? My snippers. I've lost my snippers. They're gone forever. Nope, they're here. All right, so we're going to get him off the base, and I'm just going to use the flat side down against the bottom of the base. I'm going to remove him from there, and then I'm going to make sure I don't need to do any cleanup. A little bit of cleanup, nothing big. Okay, and then I don't really want a bow because I think they're going to use spell casting, so I'm going to carefully get in there with my snippers and just remove that bow. And that'll work for what I want. Now, there's also a little piece of neck support back here sticking up, and I don't know, since the other part broke off with the head, I don't know if we really want that, so I'm going to take that off too. All right, so the other thing I have is this is from like a little bag of animals you get at like Hobby Lobby or something, and I've had it for a long time, and actually I just had it on a base unpainted like this as a miniature, and I thought to myself, this can make a really good Rakshasa head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off at an angle. And then let's see how that dry fits. All right, so we're gonna need to do a little bit of carving. So let's trim it down some. Still a little bit wide. I think that's about as good as I can get it without ripping too much of the head off. So I'm just going to get a tiny dab of glue. Get that in there and in place. And then I can still work with that a little bit. I can move that around a little bit probably. Yeah, see, I can still kind of get the right angle. And I'm going to fill in the rest of this area back here. I'm just going to smear the glue that's bubbled out around and get a teeny bit more. Okay, something like that. I'm going to rub that down into the stuff, and I don't really want that excess glue in these on the armor. So I'm going to get my thumb now that's mostly dry. I'm going to stick that to it. I'm just going to take a lot of that off. All right, so in the front there, I don't think there's a whole lot that can be done. There's a little bubble, but I don't know if I can get my nozzle in there, really. No, I can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my knife. I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to try to cut that little bubble out. Okay, cool. Like that. And I'm just going to scrape down the back here. Get that little piece of glue I missed with my thumb. All right, now we want to sturdy him up, but first let's get him on the base. So to get him on the base, I'm just going to do a dab of glue on each foot. Maybe. That's more than I wanted for sure. I'm going to position him on here and let him sit for a moment. And hopefully we'll get enough of a bond right there that I can let go of him. Oh, he is stuck to my finger. So we didn't get a bond. All right, we'll have to do it the hard way, and that's okay. We'll see if we can get that over there, over there, get a solid grasp. All right, so we do have one more thing we got to do, and I don't know if I have an open glue small enough to do this. Is this open? Is there anything in this? There might be some here. I just want to get a little teeny bit on the back of his neck and a little bit under his head. All right, that's empty. I don't want to use a big nozzle like that one that I cut off. Is there any in this? Oh, I cut that nozzle off. Is there any in this? Okay, here we go. It's probably smarter to use a toothpick to get that glue there. So let's get a toothpick, get a dab of super glue, and rub it in that crack. Just to sturdy it up. We're going to get a little bit and rub it under his front of his neck here. Do the same deal. We don't want to take a bunch of detail away trying to mount this. Sweet. All right. Sprinkle some in. Sprinkle some there. And we'll put this off to the side. Let's take a look at it. Something like that. Now, this was supposed to be a tiger head, so you would imagine there'd be some fur coming off the sides of the face. I wasn't sure how to do that in a good manner, but so what I just tried to do is make an interesting pose with the way that form was and the way his neck is. A lot of times the way you turn a head or angle a head can give you a pretty decent look. You know, the miniature gets a look to it. So what we'll do now is just quickly hit it with a black rattle can, and I'll be right back with this. And this is not a beautiful overspray. I probably missed a couple spots here. That's okay though, because what we really want it to do is just have something for the other paint to stick to. Make sure there's nothing super wet left on him. And it doesn't appear to be. All right, good. Let's get some cardboard here. Black paint. Well, let's see how much. I don't think we're going to need black paint. Let's get white paint. This is just Snow White from you know, Walmart paint. Apple barrel. And this is a real soft makeup brush. And we're going to do it in a couple iterations. So let's get it real thin first. And look for some detail. Nice. A lot of detail we can come back on here. And we're going to get a little bit more. And we're going to focus on the face area and the upper areas. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Now, we know that the base coat of him is going to have to be like an orangish or a reddish brown. So let's get my chocolate bar color and a small brush. I'm using my starter brush here. And I just got this in my mouth. I have my fan off. You can actually hear everybody upstairs. Sorry about that. I have my fan off because it's a little chilly in here, and I know I wasn't going to be doing a bunch of spraying, so I don't have the fan on over there, or the fan right next to me that I always have on. So that's kind of what it is. Now what we're focusing on is the cat parts. Let me bring this down here. We're focusing on the flesh parts where the orange and the white and the black are going to be. We got to get up under that neck a little bit and darken that up, even though we're probably not going to spend a lot of time back in there again. Now, we could have cut his hands off and turned those backwards, but I don't feel like people are going to notice in a feature like that well, so I didn't think it was going to bring too much to the miniature. But if you wanted to do that, that would be accurate. That paint is just not getting there well, is it? And sometimes when you use craft paints, you do see some flaws where you think you could have done a better job. But often if you come back with a really thin coat and hit it again, you can kind of fix that. So what we're doing is making sure there's no white exposed on those parts that we're going to do that. It looks okay. And his legs are actually not covered too. We could do those. I don't know if we really want to. We'll see. We don't want to create anywhere where we have to do too much of the difficult tiger pattern, or it makes the paint job go for a long time. But you know what? Since that's kind of the way this miniature is, and I think it'll look okay, we'll go ahead and do it. Now, if you see your brush is starting to dry out like mine is, and you're starting to drag too much paint, you can just clean it real quick with your mouth and start over, like I just did. I think that's a good starting point to work with. I don't see too much white sticking through anywhere. I'm going to hit this back in this little corner here a little better. I think that'll work. All right, let's put that brush down. Now I'm going to get chestnut, which is like a more of an orange brown. And I don't care if I get, this is a real light color, and I don't care if I get it on the armor and stuff, because I'm going to come back and paint that. And I'm not sure that this is going to be dark enough that it's going to be super problematic. So I'm going to get that size 3 brush that you see me using all the time, that the Doom brush, the one I refinished. And I didn't get this brush moist at all. And I'm doing this as like a very rad improvised dry brush to give some different tones to my undercoat before I start on my oranges. And you can kind of put as much effort into this portion as you wish, but I'm not going to turn this into a big, long, drawn-out thing. So right off the bat there, you can see we have the good base coat to go orange from there. The next color I'm going to use is called Ripe Tomato. It's an orange color too. And this is, well, that's flag red. Hold on. And this is an orange, and I'm not even washing that brush out. I'm going to get this, and this is going to be dark. So we want this to be a little white, spread thin. We're going to start getting our first touches of the orange look to them right here with this. You don't have to hit these perfect. Okay, I think that looks okay. Something like that. And we're going to get another orange. This is called, I think, jack-o'-lantern. It's called pumpkin orange. Is that the right one? Yeah, pumpkin orange. We're going to go and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start bringing them down, down, down. And I didn't have a plan going into this, by the way. So if you're wondering why I don't have all these paints out and stuff, if you're new to watching, you'll have to learn. I just kind of do stuff. I come down here, I open my book. Half the time I can't remember what I'm working on today until I get in here and open up the book. You know, I try to remember and think about it throughout the day, and every great once in a while I manage to. But most of the time I do not. All right. Now that's about the orange we need to come in and do some stripes. But I think we can go one lighter, especially on the top parts of them. So this color is called apricot or apricot, depending on how you say it. I don't know. Where I come from, I think that you can say it either way, and that's fine. But I know in Georgia, it was definitely apricot when I lived down there in the south. I was at Fort Benning, off base. You'd hear people say it, you know, stores and stuff. I don't really see them that much up here in the north. I think they're probably less common, less popular. I don't know. It's not like something I really focus on a lot. One of the first times I really even thought about it. Okay. Just gonna hit this arm, top of his arms a little bit. I might hit his head a little better. There we go. Light him up. Cool. All right. Put that brush down. Where's my other brush? Let's get that smaller one here. This isn't exactly what I want to use either. So what I'll do is I'll grab my NC detail brush that Mrs. Doom bought me for my birthday. And mind you, she bought me other gifts as well, not just this. And before I do this part, I'm going to hit him with the +2 hot air gun. So let me put this little cap in here so I don't lose it. Put it there. Okay. So there's two things we're going to do with this small brush right now while we're here. The first is we're going to get that white out again. And we're going to do around his mouth. We're going to hit his whisker areas here. And we're going to drag that around and lighten that up. And we might have to do this twice. I don't know if you can see because I'm leaning down to see myself. dot those eyes with this little brush. It might be too big for my shaky hands. I was able to dot his little eyes. Okay. Now we're going to do with black his stripes. I'm going to get the tip of my brush back in my mouth and make it damp. We're going to do the same thing on his legs, but instead of coming across the front like that, we're just going to kind of drag it up from the sides. Okay. I'm going to do the back of the arms a little bit to make that wrap around some. Leave that exposed. Then for the back of his neck, we're just going to do coming up at an angle and one kind of up the middle. We're going to have it come between his eyes. My hand's shaking real bad. We're going to come under his ears and do 2 there. Now that's really tiny, so let's bring it up here so you can kind of see. I just did like a very light, thin pattern. Now I'm going to do under his eyes a very thin black line. And then I'm going to drag a little bit up from the center of his eyes and kind of give him like a fake eyebrows look. All right. I'm cleaning my brush out in my mouth because this brush doesn't go in water if I can help it, unless I just absolutely need to or forget. Okay. Now let's look at the rest of him. For a color scheme for his gear, I think we could do like a, I don't know, like a dark blue smock. Let me get my small brush. It's very wet. This is called Admiral Blue. So for his torso here, we're just going to do a very careful job not to ruin any of the work we've done. Hit the camera mount. Call it a camera mount, it's really just a phone mount. All I'm using here is my telephone, or my cell phone, whatever, you know what I mean. Just being real careful. Take my time. Try not to ruin any of the work I've done. That's my goal. Careful, careful. I got yelled at and cussed at today at work by a fella from a company I'm contracted to. And immediately I did get angry. And mostly I felt terrible because I've really gone on my way to be cool to these people, especially that fella. And I've been trying to help him, make his dreams come true and accomplish his goals. I've gone out of my way and dedicated time I didn't have to step in on his behalf, and I've stood up for him in fights. I tell you what, it really bothered me how quick he got angry at me. I wasn't really surprised because human beings are human beings, and when their way isn't, they're not getting their way. Sometimes they get sassy and stuff. He was a little bit sassy yesterday, and I just kind of let it roll off my back. But he yelled and cussed today, and I wasn't super appreciative of that. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I thought he was just a step above that kind of behavior. He kept asking me the same question again over and over and over again angrily, and he just didn't like my answer. And he raised his voice, and then I kind of said, look, here's the deal, dude. And I said it very matter-of-factly, and that just triggered him a little bit more. And then he started throwing some, not a whole lot. I mean, he wasn't like outright cussing me out. He was just using foul language more than he normally does in my direction. I don't want to make it sound like he was like, F you, I hope you die. No, it wasn't like that. He was just asking the same kind of questions and making the same kind of statements, but adding vulgarity into it as if it was going to make me change my answer or react differently. And I know he felt like he had a lot riding on it, though he doesn't. He's in a very low management position where he has no capital spending abilities or anything, but he's always trying to reach out and do all this stuff. And it's just, I mean, my boss really calmed me down. I was kind of like frustrated to the point where I was like, really considering how nice of a person I get to be at times. I'm going to get this dark gray blue and do his boots and his gloves. I don't know if I'm going to do his gloves in this, but I'm definitely going to do his boots in this. Oops, sorry about that. Bumped the mount again. I love this color a lot. It just really, it's just an attractive color to me. It's a nice, cool color, and I'm not trying to give a class on color theory because I don't know anything about anything, but I'm just a guy in my basement, but I do really enjoy this color. I think it's pretty. I'm more of a brown guy myself. My favorite color is red, but I like browns. I used to joke when I was younger and say, my favorite color is brown, even though it wasn't. I'd just say that to people. And they'd say, why? And I'd say, oh, because I can make it myself. But then it turned into a bunch of people making a bunch of really gross, over-the-top jokes about it, and I stopped doing that over time. I realized saying I can make it myself in all actuality is a gross joke. Yes, I understand that. I'm not blind to that. However, some people would take it just a step beyond that and start asking about other colors. Yeah, I'm not going to do I'm going to do the boots and that, but not the gloves. In the gloves, I'm going to use this Pavement, which is like my favorite color on earth. It's a dark gray, and I think it has a smidge of blue in it. I'm just going to take my time and hit that nice. We're getting pretty close here. We're going to start doing the base in a second here. So that means we're going to dry this guy off and hit some different colors on these garments. Okay. So they're not all monochromatic and boring. All right, I wonder why this guy's wearing these gauntlets. Well, obviously it's because we just painted a Lord of the Rings miniature with a cat head, but why is he wearing, as a caster, you think wearing like these thick gloves would be a a detriment to his casting, but I guess he's a supernatural-based caster and not like a wizard. It's probably a little different. But I don't know. Let's get that paint away. I'm going to get my dark brown out. This is burnt umber. I use this all the time. It's kind of like my generic base color. Set that brush off to the side. Get a little burnt umber going here. Let's paint that base up brown. Then we'll hit them with some hot air and see what kind of magic we can make happen here. So I think Rakshasa are generally, I don't know if they're from like the Middle East or where they're from, like as far as their lore goes. I could probably look that up. I'm just making a very generic assessment with no expertise as to where that just, you know, the name Rakshasa kind of has like a Middle Eastern feel, maybe Egyptian, I don't know. So I'm just going to assume that's where they're from. And if you think about tigers and people that can turn into tigers, that's scary anywhere. So people that can turn into any humanoid and mimic them and mock them and do different voices and magic spells, no matter where you're at, that's scary. It's not only scary there. So when you're telling your story in your game, this could be anywhere. This thing could have migrated from where it was originally from, or maybe it's always been somewhere else. And you're not obligated to call it a Rakshasa. You could call it a Rakamaru or a Rakinka or anything you wanted. You could just, what's nice is if people are calling it the wrong thing, your players that have studied the monster manual and stuff will be thrown off. Do you mean Rakshasa? No. No, I don't. I mean Rakamaru. Smell my butt. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go do anything on his eyes for fear of messing them up, but I am going to get this melted chocolate, and I'm going to get my medium brush that we were just using. And we're going to do some touch-up work around and about. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting a lot of the moisture out of that brush. A little bit of this brown here. Okay. And I'm just going to create a little variation across the base with that. Then I'm going to take that and put that away. And on the gloves that I did in the pavement, I'm going to use the dark blue gray or dark gray blue or whatever this is. And I'm not really washing my brush out because I'm not concerned about purity of color here. I think I'm oversaturating it enough that I can do what I want here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back on those, and then I'm just going to drag this around and create a little bit of detail on the sticky uppy parts with that, and make these gloves kind of noticeably two-tone at that point. And then I'm going to lighten that up a little bit for his boots. I'm going to use this sky blue color, and I'm just going to leave that little bit of gray in there, grab a little bit of that sky blue. I'm going to mush those together the best I can here. Leave it. And I'm going to come across those and do the same thing and just pick up some of that detail. There's a lot of little straps and stuff you could have done on these boots, but we're on a time crunch here. I want to go play Minecraft. And you should too. No, you do whatever you want. I'm just joshing at you. So for the clothing, the cloak, the blue, I think that the answer there is to find something that's a little obnoxious, like this turquoise, and just take that color we just made and mix these together. And we might want to hit the clothing twice. We might want to. We'll see. Okay. Just lightly picking up some of that detail. I'm not trying to get in there too deep or make extra work. Don't want to ruin any of the stuff we've already done, right? Okay. That's enough to really pop, I think. I'm going to get my small brush one more time. We're going to come back and do a couple straps on him, and we're going to call it a win. we are going to have to do black around the base, so let's do that now before I go into any detail. I'm just using this big workhorse brush here. It's damp from before, so I didn't dip it in water or anything, or put it in my mouth. It hasn't dried out from using it. All right, getting my tiny brush. I say tiny, it's a size 1 starter brush. I'm just gonna get a brown. Any brown will do. The color I've selected is melted chocolate, which I used on the base to bring out some highlights. I'm just gonna dip that in there. I'm gonna do his belt with that. And I'm not gonna do a great job either. I'm not gonna try to saturate everything or change a lot of color. I'm just gonna dip that in there. I'm going to call that a win. Took us about probably 35 minutes, I guess. I don't know how long it took. I guess about 30 minutes to paint. About 5, 6, 7 minutes to craft. I don't know what exactly. I wasn't kind of paying attention. But we will get a little grass on that base. And this will make a good Rakshasa. And this can also be put in as a catfolk if need be as well. So you kind of, you know, these kind of deals like this are, you can pull these off as a 2-for-1 if you need to. You could obviously, you can go a lot further with the paint job. I'm not debating that. I'm not defending my paint job. I'm telling you, if you want to make miniatures that work on your tabletop quick, you can. And we do that some days. And then there's some times where we spend an hour and a half making, well, over an hour and a half making giant purple worms. You know, it's all about what you want. I don't use the Rakshasa a lot. I use them occasionally. I think they're a fun enemy. I like to use them as like agents of evil once in a while. But, all right, getting my green flock. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon. Leave me a comment if you'd like to. I'd like that. Come join the Discord and hang out with us a little bit. And maybe hit the website up and buy some minis if you'd like. We'd love it if you bought some. I'm going to keep making miniatures out of whatever I find. Whether it be pieces of garbage, old toys, or other miniatures, turning pieces of plastic into other pieces of plastic, if you will. I'm going to keep doing that, and we're also going to keep selling the good minis. I have one mini laying down here that needs to get painted up, and this is one of the Dungeon Swag minis, and this is like a Dwarven sorcerer, and he is phenomenal. That's him next to like a regular dude. Let me try to line those bases up. So he's kind of a big boy for a dwarf. I could probably use him as a mule. But I don't think mules really exist anymore. So, but that's the Rakshasa. And I'll see you next time. I think the next time we're on the Rast, which is like this ugly, like cobalt-headed spider thing. So, hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.